Have you ever been in one of those situations, maybe with your kid or your partner or even a coworker, where a conversation just completely goes off the rails? You go in with the best intentions, but somehow you end up in this power struggle just feeling totally frustrated and disconnected. Well, you are definitely not alone. And today we're going to explore a really powerful framework for turning those exact moments of conflict into real connection. Does this sound a little familiar? It's a real-life example from an educator named Tom Drummond, and wow, does it capture that feeling of just hitting a brick wall. We've all been there, right? Where everything we do to try and manage a situation just seems to make it worse. The more we push, the more resistance we get, and then suddenly, a shoe is flying across the room. So, that's really the big question we're tackling here. Why does this keep happening? We want to be calm, we want to be supportive and effective, but it feels like something just hijacks us in the moment. Well, it turns out the answer has a lot less to do with them and pretty much everything to do with what's going on inside of us. And that brings us to what you could call the emotional impasse. That point where everything just gets stuck. And the root of that stuckness often comes from a basic misunderstanding of two words we throw around all the time: emotions and feelings. See, emotions are the raw physical data. That knot in your stomach, the heat rising in your face. They just happen, kind of like hunger. But feelings are the stories our brains tell us about those emotions. They're the labels we stick on that raw data. And it turns out the labels we choose are incredibly important. And this is why certain words can actually be a problem. I mean, think about it. What do you do when you feel mad? You might yell. What about sad? You cry. Angry? Maybe you lash out. These words are so big and so broad that they tend to lock us into an immediate, almost unthinking reaction. They don't really invite any curiosity, they just trigger a pre-programmed response. And all of this leads to a huge turning point in how we see these situations. When we're stuck in that reactive loop, it is so easy to think the problem is the other person, the disobedient kid or the difficult partner. But what if that's not the whole story? This is such a powerful realization from Tom Drummond. After literally decades of working with kids, he came to this conclusion. The key wasn't figuring out how to fix the child. The real breakthrough came when he started focusing on his own response. And that's the crucial point, isn't it? Our real power isn't in controlling other people, it's in mastering ourselves. This insight leads to this massive shift in your whole mindset. We move away from what we'd call behavior management, which really just sees the other person as a problem to be fixed, and we move toward what Drummond calls leadership and care. This new way of thinking puts the responsibility squarely on us, the adult in the room, to lead the interaction with kindness, with compassion, and with self-awareness. And this is the core principle. It's simple, it's direct, and honestly, it's incredibly freeing. The second we stop trying to force someone else to change and instead start working on our own reactions, that's when we unlock the potential for real, genuine change in the relationship. Okay, so if the goal is to manage ourselves, how do we actually do that when our emotions are just screaming at us? Well, this brings us to a really practical concept from Dialectical Behavior Therapy, or DBT, called the wise mind. So the idea is that we all operate in three states of mind. You've got the emotional mind, which is hot, reactive, and totally ruled by feelings. Then there's the rational mind, which is cool, logical, all about the facts, so much so that it can sometimes just ignore feelings completely. The goal, the sweet spot, is the wise mind. It's that middle ground where you integrate both. It's your intuition, your gut feeling. It's where you can acknowledge your emotions and think logically to find a solution that really lines up with your deeper values. So how do we get to that wise mind when we're feeling totally overwhelmed? Well, we need some practical, in-the-moment tools. So let's look at two incredibly effective techniques that are designed to basically short-circuit that emotional spiral and guide you back to a place of balance. First up, you've got the tip skill. This is awesome because it's all about using your body's own physiology to calm your mind. So T is for temperature, and this is wild. Just splashing cold water on your face can actually trigger a reflex that slows your heart rate. I is for intense exercise, even for just a minute, to burn off all that stress energy. P is for paced breathing, just slowing it all down. And the final P is for paired muscle relaxation, where you literally tense and then release your muscles to physically feel the stress leaving your body. Another fantastic tool is the 5-4-3-2-1 grounding exercise. This one pulls you out of your spiraling thoughts and plants you right back in the present moment by using your senses. You just pause and name 5 things you can see, 4 you can hear, 3 you can feel, and so on. It's such a simple but powerful way to hit the brakes on panic and reconnect with what's actually happening right now. So, when we use these tools, we're able to take a breath, find our wise mind, and totally shift our approach. We move away from trying to control a situation and we move toward offering care, both to ourselves and to the other person. And over time, this has a massive impact on our relationships. To really get that long-term impact, let's talk about this brilliant metaphor from relationship researcher John Gottman, the emotional bank account. Think of it like this. Every single interaction is either a deposit or a withdrawal. Positive, supportive interactions, those are deposits. Negative, critical ones, yeah, those are withdrawals. And here is the really crucial finding from Gottman's work. It is not a 1-to-1 ratio, not even close. The weight of a negative interaction is so heavy that it takes 5 positive interactions, 5 deposits, to make up for just 1 negative one. That just shows you how incredibly important it is to manage those heated moments as best we can. And that kind of brings us to our final thought here. This whole journey, it isn't just about managing difficult behavior in other people. It's about a much deeper journey into ourselves. As the philosopher Spinoza put it, the more we understand our own inner world, the more we can accept and even love the reality of the present moment. Shoe throwing it all. So here's a question to leave you with. What's one small step you can take today to better understand your own emotional landscape?